Okay, this is the third session in our little How to Do Business course, and we're going to talk about innovation and creating new products, because obviously having something to sell is the foundation of any business. In order to be in demand, we need to sell things that people want to buy. I sometimes trivially say that the three laws of marketing are: one, sell things that people want to buy; two, be aware that if it's going to go, it's going to fly straight away; and thirdly, you need to make it's self-liquidating. Take the money and run. Now, the products that we want to create, that people want to buy, it helps if they're valuable. It helps if they're rare, that people can't get them elsewhere. It helps that if they're imperfectly mobile, which means it can't be done in China. Spinach is a good example, because they can't grow spinach and ship it halfway around the world and sell it fresh in the market. And ideally it's something which can't be easily copied. So have a think about that when you're trying to work out what it is that you can do. You have to have some kind of sustainable advantage, which means that you have to produce something that people want to buy, that other people can't get into the market quickly. Now, I'm a great believer in, if you like, rapid prototyping, creating something quickly and testing it, and then following the money. When we set up our Plants for Presents business, we knew we wanted to be in the gifts business, but we weren't certain which product would be the one that people would go for. So we created a whole series of offers. There was a beer for presents, and food for presents, and herbs for presents, and plants for presents. And the market very quickly showed us that it was plants for presents that it wanted. So we then spent sort of 6 or 7 years developing that. I mean, the fundamental thing to realise is the market actually probably won't want what you want to offer. So it's pointless spending an awful lot of time producing massive, great, detailed business plans. You need an idea and a quick business plan that you can rapidly test, and which you can then scale ahead quickly if you get some response. The market probably won't want what you want to offer it, but what it will want is some of it mixed up with some other things which you haven't discovered yet. And what this approach does is lets you, in fact, get into an interaction with the market so you can evolve your offers quickly. One thing that we're doing in our food business at the moment is trying to add value to the vegetables that we grow by creating some added value food products. So we do things that we can sell or cross-sell to our existing customers. So we might take some surplus oranges from the orange trees that we sell and make some marmalade with it. Or we might take some chilies that we're growing anyway and make a chili jelly out of it. But you need to be aware that whatever you do has got to fit in with your existing brand and range of products that you have. You need to sell things that are congruent with it, or are natural extensions of what you're already doing. So for instance, we're already selling plants, so it's reasonable to sell relevant products to gardeners, like soil testing kits or pH meters, things which are related to the core business. But we don't really want to get into things that are completely outside of it. I mean, I know garden centres sell aromatherapy candles, but we thought that actually it would be diluting our brand to go in that direction. Now, one of the things that we know from research is that successful companies expand from a stable base. They have a range of things that they do well, and then they try and colonise out from there. The best thing to do is actually to look for new products which are adjacent to the kind of market spaces that you're already in, and sell them to your existing customers. But most companies actually, when they're trying to diversify and look for new markets for their existing products, they basically are in effect trying to sell uphill, because the hardest thing to do is to actually create a customer. So if you've got some customers and you can find some relevant products which you can cross-sell to them, then you should do so. But that's not what people do. We know from some research that Panel Kerr-Foster did a few years ago that 3 times as many companies look for new markets for their existing products rather than look for new products for their existing customers. There is a sort of fourth box in the Ansoff matrix, which is to find new products for new customers. But having been there with the engineering industry in the early 80s, I would suggest to you that that's a counsel for the desperate. You know, if you can get where you need to be by doing more of the same harder, do that first. Then look for some new products for your existing customers. And some you can make and some you can buy in. You don't have to do it all yourself. So, what are the actual stages of new product development? Well, the people who actually know what they want are the customers. So, you need to get into some mechanism for holding a dialogue with them. You can do this by, research products online like SurveyMonkey, which enable you to survey people. You can set up focus groups, or you can just go and talk to your customers. One advantage that we have with some of the horticultural products that we do is I do a farmer's market every week or two. This means that I'm actually talking face to face with the customers, and I can gauge where their heads are and what things they might want or what they could be persuaded to want. Then you need to, once you've established what it is that they might buy, then you have to work out how to deliver it reliably without going bust in the process. I'm a great believer that brand is about process. It's about delivering reliability. And so a lot of innovation is actually about working out how you're going to do things rather than the product itself. We tend to talk, conventional wisdom talks about innovation in terms of new products, but there's more to it than that. We'll come back to that in a moment because it's very intimately bound up with how you manage your people. Then you have to do it. And when you've got a product in that you've tested, then evaluate what happens and go back to step 1 for the next cycle. New product development is an ongoing process. We ran a IT company selling customizations of AutoCAD. We had to redefine not only the product but the company 3 times in 10 years, and you probably should be thinking in terms of that in your business planning. Now, you need to analyse where you stand versus the competition. This goes back to what we were saying at the beginning of how you want to have things that other people can't compete with quickly. This is something which came from a master's degree course that I was teaching, which basically analysed the advantage that Amazon had over traditional bookstores. And you can see that Amazon's value, they performed better on price, on convenience and choice, but they lost out on speed of purchase and on the face-to-face activity. Now, that means that if you're basically going up against Amazon, you have to focus on face-to-face. And the fact that you can basically be in front of somebody and sell it to them. But what this says is that, the bookstores have to focus in that area. And specialised ones that have done that have probably survived. But you can't, you have to be aware on these, whatever axes seem reasonable, which might be technical excellence. It might be the way in which you deliver things, but you have to see where you have an edge and where you can basically stake out a business proposition which is going to win. Now, obviously, you need to do some sums. You need to know how many of the item you have to sell to cover your variable and fixed costs. But you can see that so that's all in the variable costs, that you have to work out at what point your revenue takes you past the combination of your fixed costs and your variable costs and takes you into profit. And if you can't get there, it doesn't matter how profitable it is. If you can't sell enough of them, you're not going to make it. So you have to do the numbers before you commit. But that really comes, the sequence really is having the idea, do a quick market test, work out whether you can make it pay, and if so, then scale it up. Now, this is a very interesting graph, and people really don't think about this very much. You see, there's a perceived value to the user, which is what the user might be prepared to pay for the product, and there are your costs in creating it. And the difference between those is the value that's created. Now, the issue that you have is that the customer's always going to try and get the price down. And you may not be able to achieve a price point which gives you the full value of what you create, because the consumer might take some of it in the form of discount. That's what that consumer surplus means. So the amount that you actually make as profit is the value captured. Now, you have two ways of actually improving your position, because you want to make as much margin as you can. One is to find reasons why you can resist discounting and move the price up relative to the consumer surplus. And sometimes it's just a case of being bold and sticking your heels in. And the other end is to drive down the costs. And if you do a bit of each, you can make a massive difference to the amount of retained profit in the business. Because, as I said, there's more to innovation than just new products, and you can reduce the cost significantly by innovating in manufacturing, or the way you produce things, or in selling, by actually going online or finding more efficient ways of acquiring customers. But in order to do those, it's very much involved with people management. We need to make use of the skills and the initiative of our people, and we need to train them well if we want to reduce our costs in the manufacturing and selling areas. Creating the products is probably down to the business owner, and testing is down to the business owner. But if you have a team that's committed to making things work, which is basically about good people management, then you can get a lot of mileage. But you have to focus on it. Use your time very effectively, because the biggest barrier to innovation is management bandwidth. Now, if you want to know, if you're interested in following this up, you can give me a call or send me an email, and I'll have a sort of 15-minute chat with you free of charge to see whether we can help you or not. If you're interested in marketing, we've got a couple of teleconference workshops which you can get through those particular email addresses, or you can sign up for our newsletter. Our full range of details is at the howtodobusiness.com site. So that's really what I have to say on this. The next one in this series, number 4, will be about sales and marketing. Thanks.